Okay, go live. Oh, sorry. Just waiting for Facebook to turn up. I do YouTube, I'm on for an hour and a half pretty much every day. And then I do go from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok during these lives. It's my general process. Facebook takes a while to turn up. Yeah, got someone turning up now. I was just talking to YouTube. YouTube was keeping me company. There's no one on there, but that's where I film all my lives and save them. So, okay, I just did my hair. I don't do anything with it. I just pulled it back. Okay, so happy New Year's Eve day. Hope you've all had a great holiday. I don't stay up till midnight. I never do, because I'm one of those first thing in the morning gym people. I'm one of those. And so, yeah, I can't stay up at night. So my night will be very boring. I think the last time I stayed up till midnight could easily have been 15 years ago. I'm not a night person. I usually pass out. Sometimes I can go till 11:30, but then I'm out like a light. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions if you have any. Well, that's why we're here, parenting Q&A. If not, what I'm doing now is because I don't answer questions really anywhere else, because I just don't have time. I get hundreds of questions a day, and I obviously just can't do that. So what I do is I put them, the ones that I think will serve a bunch of people, I actually put in my notes for my lives, and I'm going to try and answer at least a couple of those during a live. So if you don't have any questions right now, I'm just going to, oh, sugar, I forgot to do something. Drats. Okay. I meant to have this done for today. Anyway. Okay, just a sec. I'm just reading this one. I have absolutely no idea what I wrote down. You know how I write something down in perfect sense in the moment? I have absolutely no idea what I meant by this, so I will not be answering that question because I don't know what I meant. Okay, someone asked me this question, and it's an interesting question. They said, do toddlers have social skills? No, absolutely not, none whatsoever. They don't have social. They don't understand social, so they don't have any skills with it. Some of them are just easier and calmer than others, and we interpret that as them having social skills. But those aren't social skills. That's just a personality type or a tendency. So yeah, no, they don't have any social skills. No. They may seem like they do, but they're just easier kids overall. Just a sec here. Okay, so do you have any parenting questions? If not, I'll just keep answering the ones that I have moved over onto my live notes because I get hundreds of questions a day. I don't have time to answer them, so I'm going to be answering some of those in the lives, the ones that I think would pertain to a lot of people. So if you have any questions here on either YouTube or on Facebook, you can ask right now if you want. And if not, I'll just keep going with these ones I've got written down. This one comes up all the time. It's worded a little bit differently, but I'll just read it out. This was, I don't know who it was from, but anyways, someone said, how should we respond to my 2.5-year-old saying, that's not a good idea, or no, I don't want to, anytime we ask them to do something lately? What you do is when you've got a toddler, and let's say you say to them, okay, let's go have dinner, and they say this, they say no, basically, I don't repeat myself. If they don't come when it's time to go for dinner, and that you've given them some warning, sort of set them up, but they might be in the middle of playing or something, saying, okay, it's time to go to dinner. If they don't, I take action. I just walk over, pick them up, or, hold their hand and take them to dinner. If they have a fit with that, then that's a good thing. It means that you're exercising your leadership and they're learning, because you're not doing that with absolutely everything. Like, you're not ordering them around all day, but they have to have dinner. They have to get in the car and go out. They have to go to bed. There's certain things that they just have to do every single day. So they will learn that when you say, okay, it's time for a bath, then they got to do it. But you don't do that with everything. But the things that have to be done, yes, you do that. You mention it once, and then you take action. It's the action that counts. Toddlers are under the age of 3, and they're all about consistent corrective actions. They're not about words. Someone told me that they read somewhere that you should discuss all the feelings and all that, and also you should tell your 2-year-old how it makes you feel. I think that's one of the dumbest things I ever heard in my whole life. Telling a toddler how it makes you feel as if that they give a hoot. That's the mini therapy sessions. You know how much I hate those. They're garbage. They were invented to make the mom feel good. They have nothing to do with the toddler. Anyway, yeah, tell a toddler how it makes you feel, and that'll make it all better. Yeah, good luck with that. Uh, couldn't fathom that coming anywhere near to working. Okay, preteens or tweens are 9 to 12 years old, and they're still kids though. And I know they say, "Oh, she's 9 going on 19." I always say, "Wait till she's 19, then we'll talk." Like, no, she's not. They start to mask or model or mimic what they see, but they still like they go back and forth from kid to adult or older teenager. So yeah, preteens. I have a course that includes preteens, which is tweens 9 to 12. Same thing. It's 3 to 12 years old is that boot camp course, and it includes. It's weird because it goes from 3 to 12 years old. Took me years. I kept thinking off and on, I'll do this course, and then I thought, do I do it from 3 to 8 years old, then a tween one, then a teenage one? And I thought, no, because you're the same parent with a 12-year-old. You don't do the same things, but you're still the leader with a 12-year-old and you are with a 3-year-old. That's the height of your leadership skills. And I always say parenting's all about you. So if you're the same kind of parent with a 3-year-old and a 12-year-old, the actions and words are different, but you're still very much the leader in those years. Then I grouped it all together. Anyway, check out that course. If you're struggling with a tween or a preteen, check out the behavior board. That's completely free. So it teaches you how to give respect to get it by using the behavior board. You're on there too. That's what makes it work. So I got to turn the heat down. It's really hot in here. Okay, I'm back. All righty. Okay, so parenting questions. Okay, I don't see any parenting questions, so I'm going to talk about I'm going to just talk about the other questions that I get elsewhere that I move over. Some of them I want to address. Okay, so this is online safety tips. Someone asked me, and they said, "What do you do with online safety tips?" I would rather scare a child safe than worry about scaring them. I told my kids that if they're ever talking to anyone online and they're not doing a live video chat, assume that person is a dirty old man sitting in his underpants thinking about them. Like, I always did that. So they really were very cautious online. And they made sure if they were talking to someone, they'd do a live video chat. So they'd know at least that person looked like the picture, right? So that was one thing. Another one is if you put anything online, assume your grandmother's going to read it one day because anyone has access to anything that you put online. I've done some embarrassing stuff online, but nothing I wouldn't want anyone to see. Like, it's just embarrassing. I wouldn't even say what it is. I got something out there that I asked them to take it down. I had a fever and I did something online once and they never took it down. It wasn't for me. It was someone else. So I did this once. I've never even seen it. It's so humiliating. But yeah, they won't take it down. That's okay. Anyway, doesn't make me look good. This makes me look stupid. Anyway, so yeah, anything online is permanent and your grandmother can probably see it. Okay, so tell them that. Especially if it's something really awful, it's going to go viral and then it's going to pop up in your grandparents' feed. Okay, so it's just a couple little tips for online safety. Link to boot camp. The link is up above somewhere. I don't know. I'm in Facebook. I don't know how it works. I don't actually do my social media stuff anymore. I mean, I'm on here, but I don't organize it. So is it a description or a bio? If you go on my Facebook page, this is a page, right? Yeah, I think so. It's not a group. It's not a profile. It's a page, yeah. So if you go, this is how stupid I am. That's why I'm not doing it. If you go in there, there'll be a link and it'll explain where all my services are, my coaching, my courses, and the free behavior board. It'll all be on the same link. Or you can just go to bratbusters.com. That's my website. It's all the same. It's got the same information. Happy New Year's. That's today. New Year's Eve. Oh, and my granddaughter is a week late today. Jeez. And so they're going to be inducing her. So hopefully it could still be a couple more days because she's a week late now. But anyway, so we're anxiously awaiting her. So if I do a runner, you'll know why. That's why I have to keep looking at messages because of something. We're all just kind of waiting because she's being induced very soon. So how do I handle 14-year-old daughter with fear of missing out with friends or comparing? Afraid of missing out with friends. I don't know what you mean by that. She's a fear. Are you withholding her friends from her? Or it's like, why is she missing out? Comparing, you can't do anything about that. That's a teenage girl. They're going to compare themselves to everyone. It's just the way it is. I don't know what you mean by missing out. What's she missing out on? I'll try and keep an eye out for that, Jennifer. Okay. How do I cope with getting 4-year-old dressed? I say we have to go out and I want to dress her. She thinks she is having Fun by telling me no and kicking and running. I go, okay, so she just doesn't respect you. That's all. It's a tell. Because she wouldn't do that if she respected you. And that means you're not a leader. Work on your leadership skills. That just would not happen. It just wouldn't happen. Because when you're a leader, they want to please you because they look up to you. You make them feel good about themselves. And when children act like that, they have no pride. Like their self-esteem is very low. Because if you can treat your parents like that, your self-esteem is usually in the toilet. They might have confidence. There's a difference between confidence and self-esteem. They can go together, but they can also be separate. You can have someone really shy and introverted who has a lot of confidence and know who they are. But then you can also have someone very confident who can get up on stage and talk to thousands of people, but they have very low self-esteem. They feel unworthy and all that stuff. So yeah, she may have confidence, but her self-esteem pretty much guaranteed would be very low. So work on your leadership skills. My boot camp course would probably be your best bet. That's from 3 to 12 years old. Teaches you how to be a leader. It's all about you. It's not about your kids. I teach parenting here. I don't fix kids. I fix and teach parents how to be leaders, and then the kids follow. You lead, they will follow. Children naturally, instinctively are looking for a leader because they're kids. They're growing up. They need someone to teach them, to guide them. Okay, so if that's not you, they're going to find it somewhere else. And if you're not a leader and you send them out in the world without a leader at home, they're going to search it out elsewhere. They're going to be very susceptible to peer pressure, the bullying, drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to be very susceptible because they're going to be looking for leadership. They're those ones who are impressionable. You know the ones I mean. They just follow along, and you don't want that. Believe me. Because often the kids who are the ones that you don't want them following along, they're often the most exciting kids. They seem like they have it all together because they're getting in trouble. They have no fear of anyone. And those are often misinterpreted as strong leaders by other children who don't have leaders at home. So it's a whole cycle. Anyway, work on your leadership skills. That wouldn't happen. How do I get my 9-year-old to stop sucking on her fingers? Drives me crazy. She's 9 years old, and that's really tricky. I would use something like gloves. Just say, look, we're going to beat this habit, and we're just going to put gloves on you. I would actually use incentive. And I would say, if you do this, this is what we'll do. If you do this for a whole week, every time I ask her something, use incentive for this. It's not bribery. Bribery is when they're doing, and by the way, that's not a bad thing. But if they're doing something bad and you bribe them to get them to stop doing something bad, this is just a bad habit. It's not bad behavior, okay? So I would say, I would get some gloves, something like that, and say, you have to wear these whenever she sucks her fingers, like if she has to put them on or keep them on all day. I don't know. Luckily, it's winter right now. I don't know where you're from. I raised my kids in Australia. It's the height of summer right now. I remember our swimming pool used to get so hot. We had a reverse cycle air conditioning system that cooled the pool down. It was still too hot. So I got ice cream buckets and froze all the water, and the kids would lay on top of the frozen big blocks of ice trying to cool down in the swimming pool. Then we all gave up and just went in the house because it was air conditioned. It was like 46 degrees Celsius. Oh, that was one Christmas. It was one of the hottest Christmases I ever spent there. Oh, it was hot. Why did I talk about that? Anyway, what's the appropriate age to have a cell phone? I can't answer that. It depends. And nobody knows. That's why. Anyone who tells you they know, they're full of it. Nobody really knows. Is it 5? Is it 15? I don't know. Is it 45, 63? I don't know. Nobody can really answer that. What I would do, though, is take a look around, see what their friends are doing. It doesn't necessarily make it right. But if you're worried about them seeing stuff online and all their friends have phones, they're going to see it anyway. Their friends are going to show them stuff. So, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm just scrolling. What I do is I scroll to the most recent comment because people might have left, so I don't want to answer their questions if they're gone. If I say no and her friends are allowed to go, oh, this is your 14-year-old girl. Yeah, okay, so she doesn't want to miss out, the FOMO, fear of missing out with her friends. So, okay, that's a bit of an awkward position you've put me in here because I hate to say no to teenagers. I just want to arm them with a whole bunch of information so that they kind of wouldn't make a bad decision. I don't necessarily ground kids or say no to them. I really never did with my kids. So let me think here. How could I make this, how could I give you a quick, easy answer, but it wouldn't be great. So if you say no, why is she hanging out with kids that are doing things that you need to say no to? Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm just confused. I'm confused. What's going on with her social life? You'd have to, you can't just say no unless you got a good reason. She's 14. I'm not saying you haven't got a good reason, but yeah, I'm sorry. I'd have to assess that situation. I don't know what you're saying no to. So, and why she had friends who are allowed to go. Yeah, yeah. It's one of those. Sorry, but teenagers are. It's usually coaching. I usually have to assess the situation. So I'm just thinking, no, I've got no quick answer. I could give you a quick answer, but it wouldn't be a good one because I don't have enough information. What kind of parent are you? Why does she feel she's missing out? What's she missing out on? You see? Thank you, Tarly. I do. I need the ages and the questions. Sometimes, if it's a toddler, sometimes I can answer it, but a lot I can't. Okay, thanks, Tarly. My 2-year-old is very strong-willed and defiant. Yeah. How can I get him to do what I ask him to do? I don't know. He usually does the opposite and thinks it's funny. Okay. I just was talking to someone earlier about toddlers, and they were saying he never does what I want him to do, and I'm like, yeah, what's your question? He's a toddler. The thing is that you say something like, let's say you got to go out. Okay, you say, okay, we're going to be leaving soon, so you want to get your, you get your shoes or whatever, and you say something, and they say no, and they run off. I don't repeat myself. I go and get them. Like I say something once, and then I take action. So they have no time. Them saying no means nothing to me because I'm telling them what needs to be done. Okay, we need to go out. We're going. You're not staying home alone. You're 2 years old. So if I say, okay, we're going now, let's get going, and they say no and run in the other direction, I don't say anything after that. I go pick them up and take action, kicking and screaming. You've got to be willing to go through the storm. When you're laying down the law like this with toddlers, they're not about words. They're about consistent corrective actions. Like if I said to my kids, we're leaving now, I don't remember them ever saying, no, oh, that's not true. My son had tantrums. And when we were out somewhere and I said, okay, we're going home now, he would often have a tantrum. Not every time. It was 50-50 maybe. I don't remember. But he's 34 now, so it's hard to remember all that. But I do know when we had to leave somewhere fun, he didn't want to leave. But I didn't keep saying, and if you come home, we'll do this. I never did anything like that. I said, okay, we're leaving now. Come on. And if he didn't come when I called him to, we're going, I would go and pick him up. And he would be kicking and screaming, and that's fine. That's his process. Those tantrums are none of my business. Fit scenes and tantrums are none of your business. That's them processing, them not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it. Don't interrupt that process. Allow them to learn that they can't always get what they want. The sooner you teach them that, the better. You don't want teenagers that you haven't taught that to. A lot of parents, I think a big trap that parents fall into is they're trying to avoid the scenes. How do we make life easy with children? Like, you might have really easy kids. That's part of it. I would say my kids are pretty easy, but my son had tantrums when he was a toddler. My daughter was just easy from day one. So they're all different, right? But yeah, everyone wants this rainbow. How do I get the rainbow, Lisa? And I'm saying, well, you ready to go through the storm? Because when you put your foot down with a kid who doesn't want to do what you say, even a toddler, you have to be willing to make it happen. It's just the way it is. If you're not willing to go there, I can't help you. Like if a kid, okay, I'll tell you, I love this story. It's such a quick story anyway. This 8-year-old boy, he didn't know me, and it was the very first time I was ever working with him. And I was warned, he was a handful. So I thought, okay, I love this, right? So I'm like, oh, goody, okay. So he says to me, he asked me to do something or for something. And I said, no, you can't have that. And he was 8, and he said to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, what did I say? No, I was going to say, have at it. I was just talking to someone about that. Oh, shoot. What was the third? I say this all the time. I tell this story. Oh, what do I say? What did I say? Oh, shoot. I was going to say, have at it, but that's not what I was talking. That was something else I was talking about because I love what I said back to him. Now I can't remember. Oh, well, something like go for it or something. I don't remember what it was. Can you remember? I say this every single day I tell this story. You don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. Go ahead or something like that. I can't remember what I said. Anyway, it was a good statement. That's what I used to say to kids all the time. Now I can't remember. I think I say the same thing every single day and my brain just does a little, oops. Oh, bring it on. Shoot, bring it on. That's it, because I want it. There you go. That's the difference, because I actually want it. So he said, I'm going to have a fit. And I said, bring it on. Like, in other words, I'm inviting it in. And he never did. He looked at me like, oh, okay, she knows what she's doing. That's it. Bring it on. It's very specific wording because I'm inviting it. Like, I'm not afraid of it. Bring it on. And he never did. Is it because I'm old? Yeah, maybe. No, I was always like this. I forgot. If you say something enough, you stop and you end up forgetting it. Just the way it is. Okay, so I don't see any questions right now, so I'm going to just read out some comments that I get or things that I think of as I'm, reading through stuff. I do read through a lot of comments, but I have no time to answer them. Sometimes I will. If I'm at the gym between sets, if you see me answering questions, it's usually because I'm at the gym. Anyway, so something that came up is someone said, well, you have to discuss this with toddlers. Someone was talking, they were giving advice to someone who would ask me a question. And people love to come in and give their advice. And what they were saying was, you have to discuss feelings with them and emotions and all that. So I'm just going to point out that you don't, because toddlers are all about actions. They're not about words. All those mini therapy sessions are absolute garbage. They were invented to make the mom feel good. They're meeting her needs. They have nothing whatsoever to do with the toddler. Nothing. Toddlers learn with their eyes, not with their ears. They're about actions. They're about what they see. It's physical. Okay? If you take a toy away, they see it. That they do not learn with their ears. They learn with their eyes. So they're all about actions. And they're watching you. They're not listening to you at all. Lots of people came in and gave advice on that one. I don't remember where it was. I don't know, probably Instagram. Anyway, yeah, these mini therapy sessions. I know they're popular because they are feeding the mom's needs. That's why they're popular. But they don't get any results. If you've got a really easy child, anything's going to work. You could go up to them and go, and they'd be good. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do with an easy kid. But most kids aren't born super easy. You have to teach them things, right? Okay. Oh, I don't see any question. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. How to handle my 2-year-old constantly hitting and pushing my 11-month-old. That's tricky because they're still a toddler. You can't use the behavior board with a toddler. So every time they go to hit the 11-month-old, you have to go over and you have to intervene. And you say no, and then you separate them. And then I would pick up the 11-month-old and sort of reward them, like with some attention. Now, the thing is, I don't know what the 11-month-old is doing. Are they walking or crawling over and grabbing stuff all the time? If so, have a safe area for the 2-year-old to sit in and play without the 11-month-old getting involved. So give them some time to play on their own. They need somewhere where it's sort of cordoned off and only they can get in there. Or you can even just put the 2-year-old into a playpen that the 11-month-old can't get to and say, here, you can play in here, and she can't get to it. So use separation potentially. The idea with that is they'll get tired of playing on their own. They often like the interaction, even though they fight, but it's often they get addicted to it. It's like that's almost their fun. So yeah, it's consistent corrective action and separation can help too. How do I teach my 1-year-old not to hit? Well, you don't really. It's consistent corrective action. They might learn after a week, but then they'll probably start doing it again. There are 4 things that kids are born to do. They're either going to do or they're never going to do. It's not your fault that they do these things, but it's something that you can control by the time they're about 3. And they should peter out before then too. One of them is tantrums. Another one is climbing. Another one is running. When they don't look behind, they just take off and run in front of a bus or something. And the last one is aggressiveness, hitting, pinching, whatever, kicking. Those are all things that they'll try doing. It's just in their DNA, okay? It's just something in some kids. They're either going to do one of those 4 things or all 4. Some of the people say, oh, my kid does all 4. Yeah, some of them will. Some of them will go like this and smear poop on the wall too. They're going to try things. They're just babies. Now, I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. And the last one will pertain to you. Okay. Number 1 is child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is you connect with a toddler in their world, not in yours. You don't go to the nail salon to connect. You go to the park and roll down the hill. They start to look at you differently when you enter their world. It's part of leadership. It's connection. It's bonding. Number 4, it's sort of similar. You would discipline a toddler in their world. They're all about consistent corrective actions. You don't use these mini therapy sessions, okay? That's your world. Don't expect a toddler to find their inner adult. They don't have one. You find your inner toddler. You were there once. Remember what it was like. And it's hard to remember at that age, but anyway. And the last one pertains to you. Stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They're just going to do stuff, okay? They're just going to do stuff. So, yeah. It takes time, though. If you want to train them out of something, it takes time. Might be the 50th time you do consistent corrective actions. Might be the, 150th time. But yeah, and then they might pick it up again. They might regress. They're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. It's actually my least favorite age, toddlers, because I like them at home, but they were easy. But taking them out, you can never relax. You have to watch their, because they get mobile. They're all feet, no brains. You can't relax ever when you're up, because I'm a real safety freak. So yeah, I could never relax when I'm out with a toddler, unless they were in the pram or in the shopping cart or something. I remember we were traveling. We lived in Australia, and we were traveling back to Canada, where I live now, to visit my family. And we had an 18-month-old. And I thought, oh, geez, what am I going to do? I got a leash for him and a harness and a leash. Smartest thing I ever did, because I thought we had a big layover. I thought, what if we pass out in the layover and we're snoring and he's running off somewhere? So yeah, we got a leash for him. The smartest thing. We didn't end up falling asleep, because you don't want to do that when you got a toddler with you, right? So, but yeah, I got a leash for him. But you just got to manage them. It's not about stopping the behavior. It's about He actually wasn't a runner, but I thought if he just wanders off. So yeah, it's not about managing them so much. It's about managing the environment or managing yourself, because you can't control a toddler. Oops. Someone asked about, I'm answering questions that I get in comments and that. I get hundreds of questions a day, and I can't answer them. Obviously, this is where I answer questions. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling some of the questions from other places and answering them on the lives. So another one that I got recently is media management. How do you manage media, which is screens and TVs and iPads and phones? How do you manage that with kids? It's okay. This is what you do. And they're, let's say, 3 and over, and they can start to understand this. You say, okay, there's 3 different ways of managing it. They have a certain allotted time per day, or they have a certain amount of time per day. I don't like either one of those. I would rather give them a certain amount of time per week. And when they're little, you help them manage this. But as they get older, say, let's say you got a 10-year-old, and you say you got 10 hours a week on screens. Here you go, you manage it. Okay, and he can only go on, like he can't go on at 2 in the morning, but it's when it's okay to use screens, he's able to use them. Well, if he uses all of his time up by Thursday, he can't blame you for it. He will the first time, but he'll have to learn how to manage himself. You never want to micromanage children. You want to teach them about self-discipline and managing themselves, and media management is one of the best ways of doing it. So yeah, just say you got 10 hours a week, Monday through Sunday. There it is. It's all broken down into minutes. I'll be keeping track of the minutes. And go for it. Have at it. Manage it however you want. So yeah, and let them go. But one family movie night doesn't count. They can still watch a family movie. So if they've got no minutes left, you don't lock them in the bathroom because their time's up. Another one is too, I don't like to ever use socializing or love or anything comforting with discipline at all, or anything like this. So let's say they had a friend over and it was something that was planned before, and they were going to go on video games. Okay, I would still let them do it even though all their time was gone. But I would take that time away from the following week. Yeah, got to get organized with all this. Think it through. Just organize it. And you want them to learn how to manage themselves. Okay, I got to move over to Instagram now. If you want to follow me over there, you're welcome to. Otherwise, check out the description. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. That's 5 weeks to get respect. It's all about you, 3 to 12-year-olds. Or you can hire me for one-on-one coaching. That's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you live. Anyway, I'm always on YouTube when I'm doing these lives. But then I move between Facebook, then I go to Instagram, then I go to TikTok. I'm doing it alphabetically now because I was mixing them up before, and I was doing 2 and then 1. No, I was doing 1 twice and then another one. I got all mixed up. I'm not that bright. Okay, talk to you later. Bye now. Sorry, YouTube, I'm just ending this. I got to do something else. I get rid of that. I got Instagram. I do live. Okay, done. Okay, opinions on using corporal punishment. Jaden asked me. Yeah, I don't. Hitting and yelling, or like spanking and yelling, are really common things with parents, but they're not necessary. When you learn what else to do, you don't need to do those things, okay? So that's my comment on that. So I'm just answering a question on Facebook, YouTube. If you're joining me from Facebook, welcome over. After this, I'll be going over to TikTok. I'm on YouTube for the whole time. Every time I'm doing a live, it's all filmed and saved on YouTube. But and then I go from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. So I split those all up. But I'm on YouTube the whole time. How to stop your child winding you up? Well, that's on you. What I mean by that is you can't expect a child to control your emotions. It's a lot to ask. Stop making me mad. This doesn't work that way. So yeah, set yourself up as a leader and you won't have to worry about it. It calms everyone down. It takes a while though. You have to learn how to do all this stuff. Once you're a calm leader, then you won't get wound up because you'll know what to do. It's really just about giving you the tools and the information on how to move forward. If you check out that boot camp course, I don't know how much is previewed, but anyway, the first 3 weeks are all the behavior board. So you'll have 3 behavior boards by the end of the 3rd week. Then you move into in the moment discipline because you only do 3 behavior boards. Then you go into in the moment discipline. Everyone wants that. Never rush to that because you have to learn how to get organized and how to set up rules and consequences. It takes about 3 weeks to learn how to do that. Then you go into in the moment discipline. You don't use the behavior boards anymore. You can still use them if you want, but you don't need them anymore. Like I never would have used a behavior board. They're a teaching tool, okay? So yeah, it just sets you up as a leader. So once you know what to do, you tend not to get wound up because you know what to do, right? If you have answers, you don't get frustrated by the questions. Does it make sense? Need help with my 18-month-old hitting, biting, headbutting. Okay, check out my toddlers who hit, bite, etc. I know it's a really bad name. It's in my mini toddler courses. I've got 4 of them, and it's one of them, and that one's designed for you. That's different from the tantrum one. The tantrum one, they often hit during a tantrum, but you deal with it differently. It's actually similar, but are they getting aggressive and violent, or whatever you want to call it, with a toddler? I don't like that word for a toddler, but it's what it is. They're getting all hitting themselves and that. If they do it during a tantrum, that's different. If they do it just because they're mad and not having a tantrum, that's different. They're different. That's why they're different courses. You have a stubborn 3-year-old boy. And your question? It's sort of, whenever someone says that to me about a kid, it means that they think they're in charge. The child thinks he's in charge. He digs his heels in because he knows eventually you're going to give in. Is that what it is? It's usually what it means. I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but I could be. I might be, but I don't think I am. It means that you're not consistent. Am I right? He has a chance of winning, so that's why he's so stubborn, because he knows if he out-stubborns you, he can win. That's what that says to me. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Okay, tantrums during car ride, 3-year-old. So they're all buckled in. What's the harm in that? Someone just asked me about that somewhere. I don't know where it was. It might have been on Instagram, actually. I was at the gym. The only time I'll ever answer comments or anything is when I'm at the gym between sets. I don't always feel like doing that. I kind of like to get away from work when I'm working out. But sometimes I will. Between sets, I'll start answering comments. It's the only time I'll do that because I don't have time. I'll get hundreds of them, right? But when someone asked me earlier, they said, what about a car ride tantrum? And it just goes on. It's almost dangerous. It goes on for so long. And I said, well, you can always pull off and have them tantrum in a parking lot. Like take them out of the car and let them tantrum in a parking lot if it's really driving you nuts. So I don't know what they meant by violent and dangerous, but maybe it just went on for too long. But yeah, that's what I would do. And then just stand there ignoring a tantrum as always. You always ignore tantrums. You ignore the crazy and reward the calm. I get a lot of flack. Oh, I got someone working with me and they put up a video. I don't know if they're watching me right now. Oh, well, they put up a video. They took it down because it got so much kickback that they didn't like that. They thought, oh, they're going to get the wrong idea. And I love that. I said, keep it up. But if you're not comfortable leaving it, and they took it down. What the heck? It was something about ignoring tantrums. Oh, I know what it was. It was when a child's having a tantrums and wants a hug from you. Oh, I love you. You don't love me. And they're doing all that. This is what I would do. When a kid does that with me, I go, you're all right. And I just pat them on the back. And then I keep doing what I'm doing. Like if you pick them up and console them, what you're doing is you're saying, good tantrum, good tantrum. It's a reward for a tantrum. So at the very most, I might say, yeah, I'll just pat him. You're okay. And then I'll go about doing, I'm filing my nails or whatever. That's the most I would do. So yeah, they took it down. And I get it. They're very conscientious in how they spread my message. But I think they think my message is a little bit too harsh sometimes. That's what I'm fine with that. But anyway, so yeah, they thought that would be misinterpreted as ignoring a child who needs love. The thing is, if you're ignoring a tantrum, you're not ignoring the child. You're ignoring the tantrum. Okay. Also, yeah, you're kind of ignoring the child at the same time. But if your child can be damaged by being ignored during a tantrum, you got a lot bigger problems. If they don't feel treasured and safe with you, that's why they could feel damaged during being ignored during a tantrum, because you're missing out on a lot of important parenting techniques. So yeah, if they don't feel loved and treasured and safe with you, yeah, might damage them because they're already being damaged anyway. Does that make sense? So yeah, if your child knows they're loved and they're very safe and secure with you, and you ignore a tantrum, they're fine. They'll survive. You may not, but they'll survive. They're just fine. They're okay. 9-year-old girl doesn't want to do anything, just TV and games, possibly ADHD and gifted. Yeah, well, those I always worked with kids who had special alphabet, called them alphabet kids. So yeah, they were all the special alphabet kids that I worked with, right? So it's all the same stuff. Doesn't want to do anything, just TV and games. What does it matter what she wants to do? What I mean is, okay, how do I put this? Children need to learn. My kids knew this from about 3.5, that you've got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. Like that TV would never have gone on if they hadn't made their bed or something. Like they just understood that from a really little age. So she obviously doesn't have a clue that you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. So her needs and her wants are completely out of whack here. She needs school, she needs exercise, she needs some downtime with no TV. But yeah, so you got to teach her. She needs to do what she needs to do before she can do what she wants to do. So her needs, it's imbalanced. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, check out my boot camp course. It might help you out. If you want help with this one-on-one with me, you can hire me and I can assess the situation. My son was gifted. I kept him mainstreamed. I fought for it. When he hit high school, I didn't have a say. They segregated him, and I hated that. I do not believe in it. Yeah. Anyway, why don't you just knock him over the head with a sledgehammer? I don't like segregating children. Yeah. Anyway, I fought it, but plus, you can't take credit for being really good looking and really smart. Those are gifts that you're given. I taught my kids you can't take credit for anything that you haven't done. You can take credit for how you behave and what you do and what you say. You can't take credit for gifts you were born with. So I never treated my son like, oh my God, you're so special. I just said, weren't you lucky you were born with this brain that just works differently from the rest of us? But I never treated it like it made him better than anybody. Does that make sense? So perhaps she has a little bit of an entitled, maybe you've given her an entitled sense of self. Is that possible? She can do whatever she wants. That's possible? Some parents of gifted children do that. I certainly never did that. Weren't you lucky you were born with this big fat brain? The rest of us have pea brains. I always kind of felt sorry for him too. Wouldn't it be awful to be the smartest one in the room? He's always surrounded by us imbeciles. But they're only smart in one way. It's not usually the whole package. They're like philosophers and they're doing science and it's like they're gifted with, thinking things through and, certain things. So yeah, I always said, aren't you lucky you were born that way? But don't take credit for it. It's just the way you were born. How do you deal with a clingy toddler? You get them started with a game or something, and then I gotta go do the dishes, and then just wander off as if you forgot you had to do something. And just sort of, they're gonna be clingy, You can't just stop it. One of the hardest things that I deal with is when someone says, I work from home. How do I get my toddler to understand that? Really? You want a 2-year-old to understand that you need to work from home? It can't be done. So you have to set up systems and, you have very specific times, and they're very much into habits and schedules. So, and if they can see you, how can they possibly understand why you can't be with them? Yeah, you have to be somewhere they can't see you. But if you have to be around them, we have to work with that. That's coaching, though. That's tricky. Okay, I'm going to also, sugar. Oops, I missed tons. And I have to just scroll because people come and go. So I don't want to answer questions when people have already left. I don't think she's entitled. She's very, very strong-willed. This is the gamer. Just popped up. That's why I'm answering this one. I'll check it out. 101 would be great. 101 would be great. What's 101? A one-on-one. Oh, okay. Sorry. What did I say? What's 101? You see, I'm not gifted. I was born with a tiny brain. I did something really embarrassing once. I don't understand a lot of acronym because I'm in my 60s, right? I'm surprised I'm even online. And someone had written something really rude, and it was spelled sort of phonetically when you talk it out, and it was on YouTube. Someone wrote something really rude on YouTube, and I read the whole thing out, and it was horrible, really racist, like awful. And then I was talking, and I was on, I think, TikTok at the same time, and I read it out loud, and then I read it again really clearly what it was, and then I went like this, and everyone was laughing. It was awful. Excuse my ignorance. It reminds me of that time I got a client years and years ago, and his name was spelled Jesus. So of course I called him Jesus, and he said, "I didn't know. Huh? I didn't know." And then he said, "Actually, it's pronounced Jesus." He thought it was funny, but I was so humiliated. I don't embarrass easily, but that because I don't want to be insulting to anybody. Like I just found that really, really upset me. Anyway. Okay, how far should you push toddlers to nap or eat? Well, you don't push them to nap or eat. My kids both stopped napping at 12 months old. Maybe they just don't need a nap. Most parents come back with it. They don't. They're a bear all day. Okay, so I don't know how to answer that because I don't know how old they are. And do they really need naps? Maybe their naps are too long, or I don't know. And then with eating, I present the food. If they don't eat it, say fine, that's fine. I put it away, pack it up. Maybe an hour later, they won't get it for probably an hour. My kids knew that if they didn't eat, that we always had very regimented meals, not the same time, but they had to sit and eat. There was rules. You never eat anywhere around the house ever. Why would you? Messy. So they had to eat at the kitchen table. And then they knew food was going to be put out in front of them. And if they didn't eat it within a certain amount of time, it would be put away. So they just ate. They didn't eat everything. Some days they eat more than others. Kids are like that. We're all like that. Some days I'll eat like a crazy person, and other days I won't. Well, I usually eat a lot. But anyway, but yeah, we're all kind of like that. So you present it, but if you're trying to push it, and are you going to get the begging? Are you begging them? Come on, if you eat, then we'll do this. And yeah, I don't do that. I just present it, and then I keep talking about what we're doing, and I'm eating my lunch while they're not eating or whatever. They can eat if they want or not. I don't push them to eat. Yeah, and they both stopped napping at 12 months. They would have accidental naps, but they didn't have daily naps past the age of 12. Both of them. They weren't super active kids, though. So. Okay, my 15-month-old has started waking at 5 a.m. Is sleep regression a thing? It is a thing. Should I cry? Well, maybe he's going to bed too early, or maybe he has long naps during the day. That might just be the time that he has to get up. But if he doesn't get up at 5 a.m., what time is he getting up? Is it 8 or 9? Then maybe he does need to go back to sleep. I'd have to assess that. I don't know. And if they're up at 5, no, I wouldn't let them cry it out at 5. That's like he's just woken up early. It's not like he got up in the middle of the night. Like I'm up at 5 every morning. So to me, that's the start of my day. So you're kind of maybe asking the wrong person there. Because to me, that's just the start of my day. I used to get up at 5 when my kids were little because I loved that time to myself, and I'd watch the sun come up, and that was my time just to start. It was a great start to the day. I've always been a morning person. So I'm just saying maybe that's just the way they are. You're amazing because you were unfiltered. Yeah, I don't know how to filter myself. I was just saying, maybe it was here. I don't know if it was here or Facebook. I was saying I've got someone who does all my videos, and they put one out, and it got a lot of pushback. It was, and they said they took it, and they said, "Do you think I should leave this up? People are really angry about it." And I said, "No, I love that." And so I said, "You do what you want, though." And they took it down, and because they're very conscientious, and they know that they're dealing with someone who's a loaded cannon. I can't not say what I'm thinking. So I really liked it. It was the one where they took it down, but it was one where if your child is having a tantrum and is reaching out for a hug, should you ignore them or not? And I said, if it's really bad and I still would ignore it. But if it's really bad and they're all over you, I might pat, "You're all right." And I just keep filing my nails. That's the most I would do. But then they said, well, that, a lot of people are getting upset. You're completely ignoring a child who needs love. The thing is, they want love because they're not getting their own way. That's why they want love. So what you're doing is you're saying, if you do pick them up and cuddle them, good tantrum. I should have given you what you wanted. Sending the wrong message. And if it's damaging them, you got bigger fish to fry. If a child can't handle being ignored during a tantrum, you're dropping the ball with parenting overall. Like what I mean by that is there's something missing in their lives. So long as I knew I was meeting my kids' needs already, so they could certainly have a tantrum ignored because they were treasured. They knew it. They felt safe with me. I was very much a leader. So ignoring a tantrum, that's why my son was the one who had tantrums. They just started to peter out after a while because he thought, well, she's never going to give in to this. So they move on to better stuff. Wouldn't you rather that? But anyway, that was taken down. I liked it. I like the pushback because I always feel like that's where I'm making a difference. Also, I get a lot of questions about if I could recommend books or courses or books or, I don't know, books on kids. I've never read a book on kids or parenting ever. I've never looked to an adult for any information on kids because kids taught me all this. I studied kids and worked with kids for 50 years, 52 years actually. I learned everything from them. So why would I go to an adult? I went right to the source. But not everyone has access to hundreds of toddlers, kids, and teenagers like I did. That's what I did for 52 years. It's just experience-based. So why would I read a book on an adult telling me what to do? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I got it from the source. And like I said, most people aren't going to put in all those years doing that. So also, someone else wrote something which was interesting, and it's a really good point. They said about me, they hated me, and that's fine by me. And they said, well, as if all kids are exactly the same, and there's many different parenting methods. And I'm like, yeah, what's your point? Like, I don't think I'm going to appeal to everybody. And if I'm not resonating with you, don't keep watching me. If it's not making sense to you and you're just here and thinking, well, maybe she knows what she's saying, but it just doesn't feel right to me, move on. Find someone that feels right to you. Because you're never going to do what I say anyway if you don't like me or if you don't like what I'm saying. If it's not resonating with you, please just move on. I'm not for everybody, and I would never think I would be. You know, I'm sure there's lots of different religions. There's lots of different schools, types of schooling, education. There's lots of different ways of living. I am not ignorant in that I think there's one way or the highway. That's just ignorance to me. So yeah, lots of different opinions out there. Like, I'm vegan. A really good point. I'm vegan. I'm actually a gluten-free health food vegan, so no one can feed me. And so anyway, but do I think anyone else should be this way? No, that would be ignorant. You could sit and eat a whole pack of ribs right beside me. I'd probably be drooling over them, but I wouldn't touch them. Like, there's lots of different ways to think about things. So if I do resonate with you, great. If not, move on to someone else who does. I think that's really important because you really want to get on board. But one caveat here is don't try and mix different parenting styles, because if you were to throw, let's say, time out into my method, it wouldn't work because I think it's mean. And I teach respect. You give respect to get it. So it wouldn't work. You can't pick and choose what you like from different parenting experts and expect it to work. It's like dieting. You can't pick and choose what you like from different diets and expect to lose weight. It's like a program. It's all meant to be used together, like a system. So if you're like me and you think, oh, maybe she knows what she's talking about, just follow my advice or do my course or something for 3 weeks, 3 to 5 weeks. See how it goes. If you don't like it, move on. But don't mix it with anybody else. Also, if you're going to take parenting advice from someone, this is really important. Parenting is experience-based because it's personal. And if you're going to take advice from someone, they need these 2 qualifications. They have to have finished the job with their own kids. Taking advice from someone with little kids about parenting, how do they know what they're doing is going to invest in the future? They don't have a clue. They haven't been there yet. And it's like taking advice from financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank. You wouldn't do that either, would you? They have to have finished the job with their own kids because they have to have lived with teenagers. If you haven't lived with teenagers, you can't talk about teenagers. It's just different. And the other one is they have to have had experience with hundreds of other kids too. Otherwise, how can they, like my kids didn't have ADHD or half the things I talk about. So, but all the kids I worked with did. So they have to have had heavily experience-based with hundreds of kids and finished the job with their own kids. I'm sure there's lots of people out there like that, but be careful where you're taking advice from. Someone who just sounds nice, and I don't look at anyone else, so I don't know, but someone who just sounds nice, they might have easy little kids and they're giving advice. Do they really know what they're talking about? Do they understand how to live with teenagers and raise young adults and all that? And what about kids with ADHD, kids with autism, teenagers who maybe are sexually active at 12? I mean, have they really dealt with all that stuff? How can they possibly give advice? It frustrates me because I often have to repair that stuff that was taught. Anyway, enough about that. Yeah, I'm not for everybody, I'm sure, and I would never expect to be. That would be just dumb. Dumb would be dumb. What is a consistent corrective action for 4-year-old? You don't use that with 4-year-olds. No. But at the age of 3, you start with a behavior board because they can stop and think before they act, and they can understand consequences. Here's the rule, here's the consequence. So check out the behavior board. It's completely free. It's in the link above, or you can get the boot camp course. That's from 3 to 12-year-olds. It's all about you, teaching you how to be a leader. Oh, shoot, just a sec. I just got a message from my daughter-in-law. She's being induced right now, so I have to look at this. She's a week overdue. Okay, it's okay. Whew. Yeah, it's hard. It's my first grandchild. She's a week overdue. The nerve. I said, you're providing too comfortable a home for her. She's not leaving. They're trying to evict her right now. Okay. Oh, excellent. As from Carmen, I implemented the behavior board 3 days ago for my 7 and 5-year-olds, and I've had such great results with it. Perfect. And you know why? Because you're on there too. Kids love that. You got to be on the behavior board too. If you're not accountable, you're just the old-fashioned authority style parent. I don't do that. It's not a horrible way to parent, by the way. That's not a bad way to parent. The old-fashioned authority way. They will rebel in the teen years, but they'll come out appreciating what you did for them. The pleaser parent style, they rebel, they never appreciate you, they wipe their feet all over you, you become a dish rag of a parent because you're trying to please them. You raise self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. We're coming away from that. I can see a shift in the last, I'd say 5 to 7 years, I've seen a shift. People are realizing that was a disaster. So yeah, it's the one with the participation awards. Oh my God, the first time I ever heard about that, I thought it was a joke. Kids turn up and they get an award? Are you freaking kidding me? Talk about raising entitled kids. Whew. You didn't validate my feelings. I'm just a bus driver, lady. That's what you're raising. Isn't that a disaster? They're all victims. Oh my God, I didn't get my award. One mother, it was hilarious. I used to have a column in the paper like forever ago, and I was the parenting expert in the newspaper. And they wrote in, they were all mad about this because this is a question they actually asked me. They said, we demanded the school give our child a participation award, even though she didn't go to the game, but she just didn't feel like it that day. And she didn't even get an award. I went up one side of them and down the other. They hated me. I'm surprised I kept that column for as long as I did. They weren't ready to hear from me on that back in the day. Anyway, can you imagine that? Participation awards. That's where the pleaser parent style first came in. It's like, God, heaven forbid we should upset the children, give them everything all the time, no matter if they want it, give it to them. We want to please them all the time. I don't want them to disapprove of me. You know, it's all this trying to please them. It's just pathetic. Ugh, I've been watching that for 30 years. It drives me freaking nuts. And they can't figure out why their kids go crazy. I don't know why they're so naughty. I give them everything they want. Well, you just asked and answered your same question right there. For the love of God, okay, how do I help my 3-year-old constantly clinging on me? For the love of God. I don't think I've ever used that saying. That's cute. How constantly clinging on to me. Okay, well, at 3 years old, aren't they in daycare or preschool or kindy or something? Like, they must have places where they go. I would get them involved in stuff where you have to dump them off somewhere. My kids both went to the gym. I work out every day, and they went to the gym daycare every morning. Once they were up on their feet and comfortably up walking around, I didn't want them crawling around the daycare. It just grossed me out. But anyway, I think it'd be better if it was all babies, but this gym daycare had all ages running around with their shoes on and everything. So anyway, so they kind of learned to not cling to me that way. My daughter was Velcro though. She wanted to be with me all the time. And I used to teach aerobics. And I remember I used to kind of cater to it a little bit because she was such an easy little child, but she just wanted to be with me all the time. So I used to go to this one gym that I worked out at a lot. It was a further drive away, but I could see her. She could see me. So I said, just leave her in the pram. This is in Australia. I said, leave her in the pram so she can see me through the window. And I'd be up on stage, and this is all I would see. She was a little baby and a little toddler in the pram like this, just staring at me. I couldn't even look at her. It's just awful. So she was very clingy, but I still dropped her off. I still made sure, you're all right. You'll be fine. And she learned. Okay, how to teach a 4-year-old child to spend the night in his own bed. Check out my Bedtime Battles course. That is from the ages 2 to 8. Check that out. It's in 2 parts. It teaches them how to it's about getting them to bed and then keeping them in bed. That's the hard part. By the way, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, all of my courses will have videos all throughout them. I've filmed almost all of them, but it's just, we got equipment. We've been ordering new equipment and that. So we're going to be doing, they'll all be on the course. So just, if you've already bought some of my courses, just keep an eye out. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, the videos will be added eventually. So, but anyway, so I'm just beefing them up a little bit. A lot of people, because I'm better at talking anyways. So in my courses, I hate writing. It was agony writing all those courses out because I'm a talker. So I talked everything through and then I scripted it out, and it was just the way I had to do it. But now they're all going to have videos in them too. It's not a copy though. It's not like you can just watch the videos. You can just do the course without the videos, but if you just watch the videos, you're not going to get everything. It's just often just touching on a couple of points that I want to really drive home, or I might tell a story or something like that. So they're just added to, it's not in place of. Public tantrums, do you leave immediately? Depends where it is. If it's not disturbing anyone, I don't leave. But if it is, like, you wouldn't allow a child to have a tantrum in a restaurant or anything like that. But I'll tell you my mall story with my son. He was 3 and it was the second to last tantrum. And we were walking through this mall. We weren't even leaving, we weren't leaving anywhere he wanted to be. I don't even know why he did this. Anyway, he decided to have a tantrum. Threw himself on the ground. So I pulled him up against a store window, got out my nail file and just stood there like this waiting for him, because it was a very loud, busy mall. So it wasn't disturbing anyone. But because it was so loud and I'm standing there filing my nails, people kept coming up to me. It was really weird. They don't usually, but they kept coming up to me. But a lot of young moms were coming up to me with their little kids. Oh, you should give him a hug. He needs to talk about his feelings. I'm like, oh God, keep moving, keep moving. They don't know what they're talking about. And then why are they giving advice to me? Obviously, I know what I'm doing. Anyway, so these grandmothers and moms with older kids kept coming up to me saying, you know what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Didn't even go on that long. He finally finished because he realized mom's never going to reward. Any attention is a reward. So I'm never going to reward that. I ignore the crazy and I reward the calm. As soon as his tantrum finished, I said, you all done? Okay, let's get going. And off we went. I don't discuss tantrums before, during, or after. There is no point. If you think you can convince me that you should, good luck with that. I've been doing this for 52 years now. Never seen a point in discussing a tantrum. I always say tantrums are none of your business. That's their brain processing, not getting what they want, when they want, how they want it. That's their business. It's not your business. Allow their brain to process that. If you interrupt it, you become part of it. And then they don't ever learn how to process it. But you always have to jump in and save the day or give them what they want throughout the years. Tantrums should stop by about 3.5 to 4. Because at that age, they only do what works. And if tantrums work, if you're feeding it, any attention is food. If you're a tantrum food, if you're feeding it, they're going to keep having them. There's no reason to stop having tantrums. Anyway, I got to move over to TikTok now. I'm always on YouTube while I'm doing these lives. And I'm moving over to TikTok now, so thanks so much. But check out the link above and you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. Teaches you how to be a leader in 5 weeks, 3 to 12 years old. Or you can hire me for one-on-one coaching. It's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you live. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and you can join me over on TikTok if you want. Thank you. Got a lot of buttons to push here. Got to make sure I'm on the right channel too, because sometimes I have 2 TikToks. One is my old lady fitness channel, and I often end up on there by mistake, and they go, you're on the wrong channel. It's funny. Well, I've only done it twice. It's kind of embarrassing. Okay, maybe 3 or 4 times. What do you do when they're having a tantrum by yelling mama while screaming and having a tantrum? I ignore it. What does that have to do with it? Like, they'll pull out all the stops. I love you. You love me. You don't love me. You hate me. If they're saying all that stuff or saying mama, I'm still just filing my nails. I just completely ignore a tantrum. But you never leave the room. And you never go on your phone. You never get in a discussion with someone. It's important that they know you're standing there, you know what they're doing, and you're waiting for them to stop. They will eventually learn. So as soon as they calm down, I go, do you want to read a book? They will start to connect the dots. They'll learn. Because if they never get attention during a tantrum, they just stop having them. Why would they keep doing it if it never gets any attention? And if that damages a child, you don't treasure them enough, you don't show them enough love, you don't give them enough attention other times. If they can't handle being ignored during a tantrum, you're dropping the ball somewhere else for sure. Because it doesn't hurt them to be ignored during a tantrum. They're in a whole other zone anyway. I just left Instagram and chase you over to YouTube, LOL. Yeah, YouTube's my least, I got the least number of followers on there. It's interesting because I've got about 600,000 followers on TikTok, but my biggest live is Instagram. That's where it's the busiest live. And I think because I've only been on Instagram now for about 3 or 4 months, and it's only got 200,000 followers compared to my TikTok, but they're newer. So on TikTok, you've been watching me every day now for 1.5 years, so you've probably heard a lot more, right? But YouTube, yeah, I can't figure out YouTube. I don't do my own stuff anyway. I can't figure out, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I've got a clue. I'm 63, so I'm always kind of I'm behind everybody because of my age. Like, I just don't get it. Norway, I'm half Norwegian. Never been there. When to start the behavior board? It starts at the age of 3. Okay, Someone on YouTube said, my toddler is turning 2 in his tantrums. He bangs his head. Yeah, you got to intervene with that, but you still don't look at them or talk to them. You just physically restrain them. If they're hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property when they're little, you restrain them. When they get older, you can stop them from hurting themselves and hurting someone else, but if they're damaging property, you're going to have to put up with some doors being ripped off hinges. Like if you've got a teenager who is damaging property, you do not intervene. No, never. I often get clients who have violent teenagers and they say, how do we stop it? Well, there's a lot that goes into that. And they say, well, physically, I can't handle him because he's 6 feet tall, and it's a mom, often single mom sometimes. And she'll say, I'm 5'2" and he's 6'2". How do I physically restrain him? Are you kidding me? I said, no, you're just going to have to put up with some holes in your walls while we work on respect and all that stuff. But yeah. How on earth would a 5'2" mother restrain a testosterone-filled, violent 6-foot teenage boy? Like how? Okay, 10 and 13-year-olds that are constantly arguing with one another, do we intervene? It depends. Okay, so what I would say is I've got a million different answers for that one, actually. So what I would say is just if you can't get along, go separate ways. Like just you go over there, you go over there. So if they're fighting over a PlayStation or something, just shut it off and say, I'm not going to put up with this. So you just take a break from each other. It's not time out, by the way. So just separate, go somewhere else if you can't get along, and do your own thing. So just keep separating them. They'll usually get really bored with that and learn how to get along. Or else they'll, what I call whisper fighting. Do you really care if they're fighting whispering and you can't hear it? Who cares? Yeah. Sometimes that's the way they show affection. I'm not saying they do, but my kids, every day after school, I'd pick them up. This is as they got a bit older. And they were 5 years apart, a boy and a girl. And they'd be in the back seat. And one of them would be like this, not touching. Remember, I think it was The Simpsons. They'd do it, not touching, or, then they were right like a fraction of an inch away from me. So they'd be smashed up against the car window, not touching, not touching. Mom, you stop me. And I used to pull over to the side of the road and, just ask, I'll give it 5 minutes. And then I'd just wait. Then I realized that's how they said hello. They were having a blast. So yeah, are they doing it for your attention, or are they doing it because they just enjoy it? Or are they truly fighting? Then try separating them for a while. And you can just do one at a time. Let's say they're fighting over a PlayStation. Say, okay, the oldest one starts first. You come with me for 5 minutes and we'll just go in the kitchen. Don't discuss it, though. Don't do all these mini therapy sessions, even with bigger kids. There's no point. They already know why you're doing it. You guys can't get along. You come with me for 5 minutes. And then you just in the kitchen chatting about anything else. And then say, okay, 5 minutes is up. Put them back together. Watch them like a hawk. When they start fighting again, 10-year-old, you come with me for 5 minutes. Back and forth and back and forth. They get tired of that, so they'll usually learn how to get along. There could be other things going on, too. But I don't know. You'd have to hire me to assess it if there's lots of other stuff going on too. Sometimes people will hire me and they'll put and I always say, what do you want my help with? So in the questionnaire. So they'll write this and then I'll say, okay, so I read that all out loud and I'll say, it doesn't make sense to me. And I'll say, tell me what's going on. They'll tell me. And what they see is not what's happening at all. It can be often like if they're fighting, oh, the older one's always hitting the younger one. And I'll say, well, why? And they say, well, just because they're a bully. But then I say, well, then put a camera on when they don't know they're being watched. Or else just have me watching you at the dinner table or something. Sure enough, I've seen the younger one kick the other one underneath the table or something. So often it just doesn't add up sometimes. So you gotta assess it, figure out what's really going on. Why are they fighting? I would need to find that out. How to teach a 2-year-old not to roam from me. So that you got a runner. There are 4 different things that they're born to do, and they're either going to do them or they're never going to do them. It's not your fault. They're just born with this DNA. One of them is running, so they never look behind. They just take off and run in front of a bus. The other one is climbing. They're often go together, climbing, because they have no fear, right? The other one is aggressiveness. They hit or they're never going to hit. And the last one is tantrums. They're either going to have tantrums or they're never going to have them. My son had them. I never had one. My daughter never had one. My daughter and I both had the same experience when we were little. We would look at other kids having a tantrum, like confused. Why would you do that? How embarrassing. Like I would be humiliated to have a tantrum. My son would just let it fly. It just didn't matter. Anyway, with the runners, get a leash, put them before you go out. And as soon as they start to take off, you go, you don't run, clip them in. And then you have to keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing. Is it going to get ugly? Yeah. Is there a lesson behind that? Yeah. You got to be willing to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. It's short-term pain for long-term gain. If you're afraid of a fit scene or a tantrum, they are in charge, I guarantee. If they think you're afraid of them, they're in charge. That I've told this story all the time. I forgot the words that I used earlier. I was talking on, I think, Facebook. This kid, he was 8 years old. He didn't know me. And he said to me, I said no to something. He wanted something. And I said, no, you can't have that because we got to work on this. And he says, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. So I invited it and he never did. But yeah, I have no fear of it because I know that's where every fit, scene, and tantrum is my opportunity to exercise my leadership. That's all. That's the way I see it. Oh, you're having a fit. Oh, good opportunity for me here. That's how I view it. Because I know the end result, though. I know how well this works. It's a lot of body language, a lot of confidence. You'll get better at it once you practice it. And tone of voice, body language, facial expressions. Like when I said to that kid, bring it on, I didn't say bring it on like he did. I just said, bring it on. No fear, no nothing, no emotions. All discipline is done like a business transaction. If you include emotions in disciplining, it's over because they know they've got you. They feed off that. So when I said bring it on, I didn't go bring it on because then I was challenging more. It was more antagonistic. I wouldn't have done it like that. Okay. How do you stop repeating yourself all day? Well, you're not a leader. That's how you stop. I only said something once, then I took action. So if they didn't sort of follow along, but I was very careful. I wasn't ordering kids around all the time. I was being very like, well, we got to do this. It's dinner time, so we're eating. It's bath time, so we're having a bath. And if they didn't get in the bath, I got them in the bath. I took action. As they got older, there'd be a consequence. So the behavior board starts at the age of 3. Check that out. It's all about you, your leadership. You lead, they will follow. Everyone's blaming their kids for their bad behavior. It just means you're not a leader. That's all it means. Under the age of 2, it doesn't. The toddlers are crazy. They're just learning, right? But 3 to 12 years old especially, you're at the height of your leadership. Between the ages of 3 to 12, which is my boot camp course, that's the age, because that is the height of your leadership. That's when you have the most power. All of their behavior is a direct result of your parenting from 3 to 12. I'm exaggerating. That's pretty much 100%. 3 to 12. It's all a direct result of your parenting. That's the height of your leadership. They want to please you. You're like a mentor. They're looking to you for guidance. After that, you want to pass the torch, the leadership torch over. You're still the leader when it's really necessary, but the rest of the time, you want teenagers to learn how to manage their own lives more. You don't want to be telling, you don't want that. My son said, he was the one who challenged me, if anything, but he was always pointing stuff out. He said when he was an adult, why were we so afraid of you? You never did anything. And I said, no, that was just respect. And he said another time, he says, I could never get in trouble because you were always sitting here. No, that was just your conscience, sweetie, because he didn't want to disappoint me. He would have been humiliated to face me if he did something wrong. He would have been the one to get in trouble. My daughter, no. He would have been the one to push the boundaries, but he never did. And another time he was talking to a classmate, and the classmate said to him, would you ever break the law? They were like 16. And my son said, are you kidding me? He says, I'd be terrified my mom would get to me before the police would. And it was just because he respected me. Okay. When I saw Bratbusters parenting, I was expecting fear-based parenting, but you're authoritative. I'm not authoritative. I'm a leader. Big difference. Authoritative is my way or the highway. I know everything. I'm your parent, so you listen to me. I don't do any of that. I'm a leader. I lead, they follow. It's a lot of fun. I lead with fun. I lead with fun. I should tell the pool story. The pool story completely explains my style. 100% explains my style. True story. My son was, I've told it a million times, but anyway, if you've heard it before, you can just tune me out. Anyway, this explains leadership parenting to me. It wasn't with my own kid, it was someone else. Because my kids, I got respect when they were tiny and just kind of sailed through the teen years. But this is when you're learning how to get respect. This is how you do it. So anyway, my son was 8 years old and we had a pool in the backyard. So we had he had 6 boys and they were all 8 and it was a pool party. So when they all arrived, I said, okay, now the rule is that we had a few different rules. But anyway, I said, Whaley cannot go in the pool. Whaley was this giant blow-up toy, and I couldn't see behind him because kids would drown behind him. All I'm doing, I'm all by myself there supervising all these little boys. There's 6 of them. All I'm doing is counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 the whole time. That's all I'm doing. So anyway, sure enough, one of the kids brought Whaley in the pool. And I said, Whaley, out of the pool now. And I pointed. And he said to me, no. And my son went like this. Because he knew mom knew how to take care of business. Fully clothed, I'm in the pool, got that kid out sitting beside me. And I said, you're going to sit here for 10 minutes now. Now, in those 10 minutes, all I'm doing is talking about his goal that he got in soccer. I helped him with a test at school because I used to help out at school. And I asked him what PlayStation games he liked. 10 minutes. All I'm doing is building him up, building connection. That's the leadership. But I dealt with bad behavior. Then I focus on the good kid. I bring it out. When they like themselves when they're with you, they want to please you. That was my power, was making them like themselves when they're with me. I used to mentor troubled teens, and they used to say to me, I didn't even like, one in particular said, I didn't even like myself till I met you. That's your power, is making them feel proud of themselves and liking themselves when they're with you. You're a source of that. You got them in the palm of your hand. You gotta be careful with that, because they're very fragile with you, because they care so much what you think. Anyway, the 10 minutes is up. So I said, okay, go back in the pool and have fun. It's all positive, you see, because I'd already done the negative stuff. It's all over. So anyway, and he didn't leave. He kept talking to me. I couldn't get rid of this kid. And I kept looking at my son, help. So finally, my son was able to get him back in the pool, because they were going to play basketball. They needed 2 sets of 3. Anyway, finally got rid of him. The rest of the afternoon, can I help you with the cake, Lisa? What do you want me to help you? He was all over me all afternoon. I could not get rid of this kid. Anyway, his mom and he was a handful. I used to work with him at school. Anyway, his mom comes to pick him up, and she says to him when she picks him up, were you rotten as always? He kicked her in the shin, and off they went. She was just frustrated. He was a handful. But that epitomizes leadership to me. I deal with bad behavior, then I focus on the good kid, bring it out. I want them to have high self-esteem, pride, and I want them to like themselves when they're with me. That's my power. That's a leader. A leader brings out the best in people. Right? That's all you're doing. You're not telling them what to do. You're bringing out the best in them. Plus, when I said to him, the 10 minutes is up, you can go back in the pool, why would I not say, and don't get whaley in the pool again? That would be like, you rotten kid. That would be an insult. It would be mean. So I just say, go back, have fun. It's all positive. You see, that's a leader. That to me epitomizes exactly what I'm all about and how you treat children. When you need to, you deal with the bad behavior, get it over and done with, be very clear, very short, non-emotional, and then you focus on the good kid. Okay. Wait, what time is it? Okay. Can you hear that siren? I live downtown. Often I'll say to people, I'll wait for the siren, and they say, I can't hear it. You must be able to hear that. So I live downtown. What's the appropriate age for kids to make a call on consequences for their behavior? Make a call. I don't know what you mean. The behavior board starts at 3. You're on it too, by the way. If you're not accountable, leaders are accountable. Authority parents aren't. Authority, my way or the highway, you do what I say because I'm your parent. That's authority. I teach leadership. Hey, I'm accountable too. Watch how it's done. I'm leading here. They're not listening to you, they're watching you. So if you're accountable, my kids loved it when I messed up. They loved it. They'd look at each other like this because they knew. I'd say, oh, shoot, I messed up, didn't I? Yeah, what do you want? And they'd say, we'd love to go to the water slide park tomorrow after school. I'd say, fine, I'll bring your suits. So I was very good at eating crow. I used to say I was very good at apologizing, and my son would say, that's because you've had so much practice. Very funny. He always had something to say. And also, if your kids aren't voicing their feelings, their opinions, and telling you what they think, you're missing something. They need a voice. They need a voice. But in the moment, when they've done something wrong, they would never have said anything because they would have been guilt-ridden. They would have known. And they were very quick to call out what they did wrong and then impose a consequence. I never used a behavior board. It's a teaching tool I invented for clients, for you. But yeah, I just used in-the-moment discipline. So if my kids messed up with something, they'd say, oh, shoot, I forgot to do something. How about no TV tonight? I'd say, that's too much. Just brush my hair for 5 minutes. They hated doing it, and I love having it done. So that's how I handled it. Sorry, I got a lot of questions coming at me. I'm just, if you do a continuation of a question, there might be 20 questions in between, so I can't put them together. Like, I need an age too. I need to know how old. Like, are they 16, 6, 16 months? Makes my answer is different for all those different ages. Okay. My 16-month-old cries every time I leave the room, and I'm the main caregiver. How do I fix this? Why are you leaving the room, and why can't they just follow you? My kids just, at 16 months, my kids were following me around, so I don't quite know what you mean by that. What about whining toddlers? I ignore that. That's like tantrums. Tantrums and whining are two things I just ignore with toddlers. When they're 3 and over, I would say, this is how when you talk to me like this, I want that. I won't even answer you. But if you talk like this, may I please have that? I will answer you, but the answer still may be no. But I'll never answer whining. You might have to say that a few times when they're really young, but don't say that under the age of 3. They're not listening. Doesn't matter. Just ignore it. I remember the only time my kids ever talked in kind of a voice, it was my son was 5 and he'd been at a friend's house and he would have picked us up over there. The kids would have, oh, I know what it was. He comes home. My son said to me, "I'm bored," in that snotty tone. I'd never heard that before. And as soon as he said, I was doing the dishes or something, as soon as he goes, "I'm bored," he would have picked that up at the friend's house and the mother probably gave them something, a treat or something. And when he said that to me, I looked at him like this, and he went, "Never mind, I'm not bored. Nope, never mind." And I said, "Oh, is my sweet precious angel bored?" And he goes, "Nope, no, never mind." I said, "Come with mommy." I took him in the laundry room, filled up a bucket, and gave him a mop. He was never bored again. Like, don't try that on me. Anyway, the funny part was 5 years later, my daughter said the exact. She was 5; they're 5 years apart, and the same thing happened. She'd been in a friend's house. They would have picked that up from the friend. "I'm bored," and my son started laughing right away. And the same thing. I gave her a mop. She was never bored again. And don't talk to me in that tone of a whiny tone of voice. They learned. It was just every time they do something like that, it was very rare, but the look on my face, they go, "Never mind." Because I love this stuff. I usually use humor, like with the mop. Anyway, my mother was very sarcastic, used a lot of humor. And I don't know what I'd said to her. I said something to her once, and I guess I was trying to manipulate her. And she just looked at me and she goes, "That's a shame," and just looked away. And it was like, oh, that didn't work. My mother wouldn't have taken that crap. Uh, I learned a lot from my mother. She wasn't very strict. My parents were older. They let me get away with a lot of stuff, and they shouldn't have. But still, my mom was the leader. I still really cared what she thought. If I got disapproval from my mom, I did not like that. I just hated that look like this. I hated that from my mom. My dad never looked at me like that. He couldn't see any fault in me whatsoever. Rose-colored glasses. My mom saw me the way I was. I saw my kids the way they were, um, warts and all. It's the best way to look at them. I treasured them, but they were. I saw their faults too. Love isn't thinking someone's perfect. Love is loving them even though they aren't. Right? That's what real love is. I just made that up. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. If not, oh well. Okay, and I'm just gonna. I get like hundreds of questions every day. So what I'm trying to do now is filter some of them in here. And one of them was how to give kids high self-esteem. This one comes up a lot, and it's one I like to talk about a lot. So parents say, "How do you give your kids high self-esteem?" And a lot of them use praise. They compliment their kids. It means nothing to your child. They get high self-esteem from pride in themselves. That's where it comes from. If you're just telling them they're wonderful and they're kicking you in the shins, there's no self-esteem there. They feel like crap. So it comes from pride. Give your children something to be proud of. Teach them how to make good choices and treat people with respect. Then their self-esteem will be up here. Children who are rude, disrespectful, their self-esteem is in the toilet. So praising, people tend to overpraise. And if they know, like my kids knew they were treasured. So I wasn't really into praise a lot. But I would say every single time I saw them, "I love you. You're so, I love you." And then I would say, "God, I'm lucky. I got such great kids." That's what I would say. But they were easy kids because I worked on that. But yeah, give them something to be proud of because that's where self-esteem comes from. It doesn't come from being told you're absolutely wonderful all the time. It means nothing to them if they know they're not. Like what I mean is, if they're disrespectful. So yeah, think about that. Where does real pride come from? Being told you're great or from doing great things? Also, I used to tell my kids, if my son was born, he was born gifted for sure. He was different and he was assessed and all that. Anyway, I worked really hard to keep him mainstreamed and it wasn't always possible. But anyway, because I just think that's just, I didn't want him to be treated like a freak, like I just wanted to be mainstreamed and normal. And I always told my kids, if you're born beautiful or smart, don't take credit for those things. Those are gifts that you were given. Only take pride in things that you say and do and how you treat people. That's where pride comes from. Yeah, the others just gets cockiness in the sense of entitlement. So yeah, I always told them that. I said, you can't take credit for being beautiful or smart. You're born with those things. So someone really disagreed with me on that. I don't remember what they said to me about that. Ah, it was Seemed like a good point, but I argued that like up one side and down the other. But it seemed like a good point. I could see why that person would say that. They did end up agreeing with me. Oh, it was a coaching session, and they did end up agreeing with me. But yeah, well, shouldn't you tell her she's beautiful and all that stuff? And yeah, but don't go over. That's not where they get self-esteem from. You can, but that's not where they get self-esteem from. Okay. Ba, 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 ba. Do you parent adult relationships? Okay, I would say in coaching, uh, maybe 30% of coaching is marriage counseling. I am not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I have no degrees, nothing, no formal training in anything. I just have a lot of experience with this stuff. And if I don't address the marriage issue, and I always say, I could potentially help your marriage if it's in trouble as a result of parenting. But if it's because someone cheated or something, I can't help you with that. But yeah, a lot of the reason why people break up is kids and money. So I can help you with the kids part. So once we get that, and I also teach them how to navigate their own anger with each other when they're trying to deal with the kids. And it's been quite successful. They actually say I am a marriage counselor, but of course I'm not. I don't have any qualifications at all. I want to make that very, very clear. I am homegrown experience based with all this. I'm just old. I've been doing this forever. So, but it's just experience based. I have no qualifications at all. I want to make that really clear. Yeah, a lot of it is adult stuff. And a lot of it is family interference, in-laws, cousins, sisters, aunts, uncles interfering in your parenting. That comes up a lot in coaching. Anyway, another thing I want to say is if you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board that starts at the age of 3. And also with a behavior board, when they're teenagers, we call it an accountability chart. And then with adults, I say if they're fighting, I get them to do it privately. The mom and dad have their own behavior boards in their ensuite or whatever, and they have rules and consequences for each other. And we have a lot of fun with that one. I can't go into it. Some of it's X-rated. Well, we have a lot of fun with that. But yeah, think about that. It's an accountability chart. Anyone can use it. Lots of my clients have taken it to work and used it with their staff. So it's just an accountability chart. And you can use humor with it. It doesn't have to be all serious. Anyway, what I wanted to say was, in the link above, you get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, which is 5 weeks to get respect with 3 to 12-year-olds. That's when you're at the height of your leadership. You lead, they will follow. All their behavior between the ages of 3 and 12 is on you. It's a direct result of your parenting. That's when you're at the height of your power with parenting. Toddlers, they're nuts anyway. Teenagers, they're pulling away a little bit, But anyway, so then also, and then private coaching. And I just want to say that all my courses are going to have videos soon. We've been investing in some new equipment lately, and I've got someone else working with me. And I've done pretty much all the videos, but they're just going to be downloaded and put into the courses. So if you see videos filtering in, that's why. We're just working on that. So keep an eye out. If you've already bought those courses, go back to them in 2 or 3 weeks, and they should all have videos. They're not duplicates of what's in the written form of the course, but they're just more added to it or just confirming what's in there. So some people just want the video because they've been following me because I'm talking, right? So then they get a course and it's just written. So a lot of people have requested videos in there, and that's what I've done. So just check it out. They'll be filtering in. We've been investing in a lot of different things to help get this going. I've been really busy lately, so I've just been kind of growing. Anyway, trying to manage it. How to solve the live-in in-laws. I was going to say, if they live with you, it's difficult. If they're just visiting, it's easier. If they live with you, the only thing that you can say to in-laws is, when you undermine or interfere in my parenting, it hurts my feelings. If they don't respect that, nothing I can help you with. If they don't respect that, hurting your feelings, I can't help you. They're just what you would call difficult people. How can I help you with that? Yeah. So lead with your feelings, not with their crime. Like, don't go on about what they're doing, but just say, when you undermine my parenting or override it, however you want to word it, say it hurts my feelings. How did you start your coaching? I started it 17 years ago. I'll tell you, someone asked, I get asked this. I get a lot of really interesting emails. People want to know how to do this. And I say, well, finish raising your own kids and volunteer with hundreds of others, which is what I did. And they say, well, I don't have time for all that. And well, that's where I've got all this knowledge. I've put in 52 years of this stuff. So Anyway, 17 years ago, I started my business because the troubled teenagers I was working with were telling me, you got to teach this, Lisa. And there was no such thing as a parenting coach. So I started out, it was tricky. I mean, it's really difficult starting a business. I don't recommend it unless you've got a thick skin. It is really difficult. Now, I was starting my business at the height of pleaser parent style, the participation awards, all that mini therapy sessions with toddlers, all that garbage. They're trying to make everything easy for your kids. So, and I always said, you're going to raise self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. And it's just proven to be a disaster. So anyway, I was at the height of that. That was so popular when I came in with Bratbusters, be a leader and don't give them attention when they're having a tantrum. So it was a struggle, but there was a following. People were starting to get it. They liked that style. They thought, yeah, I don't want to be a pleaser parent. I don't want my kids to be in charge. I don't want them wiping their feet all over me. So, it was sort of coming in. Now I feel it's really turning around. It's getting a lot easier. Just at the age when I thought I was going to start retiring more and slowing down, I went on TikTok 2 years ago. My daughter kept saying, Mom, go on TikTok, because I love talking. And she said, go on TikTok. It's for you. And I said, but I'm not a 12-year-old dancer. I literally went on TikTok, and within, 6 months, I got 500,000 followers in 6 months. Just turning up, talking. And you should have seen it. This is big production compared to the way I started. I did it in my bathroom, holding the camera, talking into the mirror. So yeah, if you know you've got good information, get it out there. Don't worry about how you get it out there. If you really know, but make sure you know what you're talking about. If you're going to teach anything, make sure you got to know what you're doing. The business stuff, you can learn all that later, but if you know what you're doing, it'll resonate. People are going to start picking up, and not everyone's going to like you. You're going to come up against a whole bunch of nasty stuff too. I love that because it means I'm shaking things up. So yeah, it's hard. So lots of people say, can you help me with my business? No, I'm not, I don't have time for that. But you got to know what you're talking about. You can't be wishy-washy. You really got to know what you're doing. It's like, and people pick up on that. They're real crap detectors. Like if you were to go out there and talk about something that you don't know a lot about, no one's going to listen. You're a really great speaker. I shouldn't even tell you this. There is something out there that was a total disaster. I had a fever, and it was years and years and years ago. I've actually asked them to take it down. I've never seen it. It was so awful. I had a fever. It was a disaster. And if you ever saw that, you would not say I'm a good speaker. I've done TEDx and all that. I can speak. I don't do speeches, though. I'm not good at that. But anyway, it's so awful. So I cringe every time I think about that. But you know what? Life's full of fluffs. I mean, life's messy. If you worry about how you look and what people think of you, you're never going to do anything. So I'd rather throw myself out there and look like a fool sometimes, and at least hopefully maybe 80% of the time I'm decent, or 50. You got to throw yourself out there if you really want to get somewhere in life. And at my age, I kind of figured that out. I'm in my 60s now, so. Someone said to me, wasn't that long ago? I don't remember where it was. They were trying to compliment me, and they said, because I'm 63, and they said, 63? Wow, I wouldn't have thought you would have been over like 61 or something. It's like, what's the difference? 61, 63. I would have been 62 at the time. It was a while ago. Isn't that hilarious? They guessed. I wouldn't have thought you would have been. It was 1 year younger than I was. Oh, thanks. I don't care how I look anyway. Get past that. I'm just happy my hips are still and my brain's still working, sort of. Now I want to read. There was something I wanted to talk about here. Oh yeah. This is really interesting. I don't know how to make this really clear and talk about it a lot without saying the exact same thing over and over again. You know that love language stuff where we all have a different love language? And it's important to know your partner or whatever. Kids have a love language too. You know what their love language is? It's fun. They want to have fun. They love fun. They're all different. Some like going to the park, some like reading books, some like doing artwork. Find what their love language is. You watch what makes them happiest. It's not always what they're best at. That's really important because a lot of people, like my son, he's gifted, he's brilliant, he could do anything, but he's particularly good at architectural physics or something. I don't know what it was. Anyway, it's evidently a really rare field that he could be making like millions of dollars anywhere in the world doing. He was really gifted at it. And he said to me one day, he says, Mom, I don't like it. And it was a hard thing for me to swallow. He didn't like what he was brilliant at. He hated it. And something in me clicked, and I thought, well, that was stupid of me. Why didn't I pick that up before? Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you enjoy it. You should be doing something somewhere in a mix. I mean, you can't always do what you love. But yeah, it was a real wake up call for me. So anyway, but that day was with my son, but he was like an adult at that point. But anyway, kids love language is fun. They feel when you're having fun with your children in their world, that's the key. In their world, watch how they play and play in their world with them, get down on the ground, play in their world with them. They feel more loved and more special than at any other time. It's not when you say, I love you, you're wonderful. That's okay. Do that too. I was very affectionate. I was all over my kids all the time. But when they felt most special and most loved was when I was down on the ground playing with them. Think about that. Okay, enough of that. Okay, I'm going to get going. Thanks so much for watching me. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, teaching you how to be a leader in 5 weeks, 3 to 12 years old, or you can hire me for one-on-one coaching. It's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where in the world you live. I work with all time zones. Sometimes it's midnight for you, and it's 5 o'clock in the morning for me. It's really weird. Anyway, thanks so much for watching me, and we'll be back again next year. Okay, have a great night. Bye now. And be safe. Have a great night. Bye now.